leaked Canadian intelligence documents show how China influenced their election. The Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and the Liberal Party are trying to keep it quiet. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. For years, Canada has been under assault by the Chinese Communist Party through its foreign influence operations, fentanyl pipeline, corporate espionage, and of course, spreading rumors that Avril Lavigne will star in a Chinese reality show. Why'd you have to go and make things so complicated, China? Security officials in the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, or CSIS, have been warning about China's espionage for years. Yet, Canadian politicians, including Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, have repeatedly downplayed these concerns as just fear-mongering. But evidence says otherwise. Since November last year, there have been reports about how Canadian intelligence warned Trudeau that China covertly funded at least 11 federal candidates for the 2019 election, and how the Chinese Communist Party concealed the flow of funds between Chinese officials and Canadian politicians. To do that, they used an extensive network of community groups controlled by the Chinese consulate in Toronto. Then, it was revealed that national security officials drafted a warning about these efforts for Trudeau and his office more than a year before the 2019 election. But all that concrete evidence is just fear-mongering. I mean, why should Canada be scared of a malevolent foreign power funding their elections? The real scary thing in Canada is moose with ice skates strapped to their antlers. I've been warning about this for years now. These reports came to light thanks to investigative reporting by Canadian journalist Sam Cooper, writing for Global News. We've had him on our podcast a couple of times, where he explained how the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, has fueled corruption in Canada, including how the Trudeau Foundation, which was named for Justin Trudeau's father, Pierre Trudeau, received donations from Zhang Bin, the local president of the United Front, a CCP influence organization. I'll leave a link below. You know, at the time we did that podcast, there wasn't proof that the CCP was directly involved in that donation. It was just very sketchy. But now, there's evidence from CSIS that an official from a Chinese consulate spoke with Zhang Bin and told him to donate $1 million to the Trudeau Foundation, which the Chinese government would reimburse him for. Zhang ended up donating $200,000 to the Trudeau Foundation, $50,000 to build a statue of Pierre Trudeau, and $750,000 to the University of Montreal, Pierre Trudeau's alma mater. So Justin Trudeau's family foundation received donations from a CCP influence organization, money that now looks like it came from the Chinese consulate. It almost looks like it's in Justin Trudeau's best interest to downplay the CCP's influence in Canadian elections. Kind of like how it's in a dog's best interest to downplay how the couch got destroyed. That could have been anyone. Stop fear-mongering. But eventually, Sam Cooper's reports forced public scrutiny of Chinese interference in the elections, and that pushed Trudeau to take a tougher public stance. Trudeau expressed concerns to Chinese leader Xi Jinping during last year's G20 summit in Indonesia, which sounds weak, but considering how polite Canadians are, expressing concern is their equivalent of throwing a chair. This was the same G20 where Trudeau and Xi were filmed talking in a hallway, and Xi was heard calling Trudeau very naive as he walked away. I don't say this often, but Xi Jinping may have a point there. The Canadian government has been very slow to actually implement steps to counter foreign interference. Trudeau and his Liberal Party aren't too eager to talk about China's interference, probably partly because they were the ones who gained the most from it in the elections. That's because most of the candidates China was supporting were Liberals. To this day, Trudeau keeps claiming that he never got briefings on candidates receiving money from China. This pile of Chinese money could have come from anywhere. It's rude to make assumptions, you know. But CSIS documents recently revealed to the Globe and Mail show even more details about Chinese election interference operations in Canada. I'll break down what they say after the break. Welcome back. The CSIS documents leaked by the Globe and Mail show that China employed a sophisticated strategy to interfere in the 2021 Canadian election. The CCP had two primary objectives. One, to ensure that a minority Liberal government returned to power. And two, to ensure that certain conservative candidates identified by China were defeated. According to CSIS, the CCP's overall goal was both to gain useful intelligence and to neutralize Canadians who criticized the CCP's policies, like their oppression of the Uyghurs, Tibetans, Hong Kong, and their designs on Taiwan. And they knew who they had to get elected to get that done. According to one Chinese consulate official quoted by CSIS, the Liberal Party of Canada is becoming the only party that the People's Republic of China can support. I'm sure that has nothing to do with politics, though, and everything to do with Justin Trudeau being such a hunk, even if some see that tattoo of his as cultural appropriation. That's only the second most offensive way he's colored his skin. Anyway, the Chinese Communist Party is concerned that many conservatives are too critical of China, especially Kenny Chu. He's an ethnically Chinese MP who criticized China's takeover of Hong Kong and wrote a bill that called for a foreign agent registry, which would have compelled anyone working for hostile regimes, including China, to declare their interests. Chu lost the 2021 election to Liberal candidate Parm Bains. Chu blamed his loss on Chinese disinformation campaigns. Chu's complaints were dismissed by the Canadian government. But new evidence indicates that China did in fact have a hand in Chu's defeat. Because China has a hand in everything, even honeypots. Get your hand out of there, you silly old bear. CSIS noted that China's former consul general in Vancouver, Tong Xiaoling, and former consul Wang Jin had made discreet and subtle efforts to encourage members of Chinese Canadian organizations to rally votes for the Liberals and defeat conservative candidates. Wang, by the way, was noted by CSIS for acting as the go-between for Chinese Canadian community leaders and the CCP's United Front Work Department. That's the organization the CCP uses to influence overseas Chinese communities and foreign governments. Classified CSIS reports reveal that Tong boasted in 2021 about how she helped defeat two conservative MPs. According to the documents, Tong discussed the defeat of a Vancouver area conservative whom she described as a vocal distractor of the Chinese government. A source confirmed to the Globe and Mail that the vocal distractor was Chu. To which Justin Trudeau probably thought, quit all this fear-mongering, facts are scary. Tong also said that Chu's loss proved China's strategy and tactics were good and contributed to achieving their goals while still adhering to the local political customs in a clever way. There are a lot of ways Chinese consulates leveraged local Chinese organizations within Canadian society to do what the CCP demanded. One was the use of Chinese-language social media platform WeChat. CSIS documents reveal that Chinese diplomats and their proxies were instructed to press home the idea that conservatives are too critical of China, and that if elected, they would follow Donald Trump's lead and ban Chinese students from certain universities or education programs. Which goes to show why you shouldn't be trusting WeChat for news. Also, Chinese diplomats were using actual misinformation, and yet people calling it out were called fearmongers. This sounds like the Canadian version of that Spider-Man meme. Propaganda wasn't the only way China interfered in elections. The plan included disinformation campaigns, cash donations to friendly candidates, and arranging for business owners to hire Chinese international students studying in Canada as campaign volunteers to support preferred Liberal candidates. Chinese consulates should not be doing this. But other people's rules have never stopped the CCP from doing what it wants. In January 2019, the Trudeau government set up what they called the Intelligence Threats to Elections Task Force to monitor threats to federal elections. But that task force never issued any public warning about foreign interference during the 2019 or 2021 campaigns, which goes to show how weak Canada's response has been to actual foreign interference. This could possibly be the biggest case in history of you had one job. This would be like finding out the Titanic hired a guy just to make sure no one hooked up in cars on board. How'd you miss this? But the Chinese Communist Party wasn't just targeting Canadian politicians. I'll tell you more after the break. Welcome back. CSIS documents show that Canadian intelligence is aware of Chinese influence operations and that they're not just limited to election interference. The report explains how Chinese consulates and visa offices were directed to share information about any Canadian politician, government official, or business official who planned on visiting China, especially business executives. No surprise, since they're often the most eager to do business with China for profit. Because what's a little genocide, torture, totalitarianism, spying, and election interference between friends? Am I right? One report rated top secret on February 2nd, 2022, explained how the Chinese consulate in Montreal tracks visa applications of influential and prominent Canadians traveling to China. The Bank of China is in on Chinese influence operations as well. That's the danger of a communist society. As bad as Wells Fargo may be, at least they're not a bank controlled by authoritarian sociopaths. They're just controlled by regular sociopaths. According to the report, the Bank of China has been told to inform consulates of travel plans of Canadian business executives attending conferences sponsored by the bank. Conferences like the China International Import-Expo Trade Fair. What happens once China has a target in sight? CSIS explained that there were 3 color-coded political interference tactics to influence those in Canada as well as those traveling to China: blue, gold, and yellow. Figures China's minions would have a color scheme based on minions. Blue refers to sophisticated cyber attacks on computers, smartphones, and hotel rooms for possible blackmail. Gold refers to bribery, and yellow is for honeypots, using sex to compromise a target. Told you China had a hand in honeypots? Chinese diplomats know that CSIS is onto them, which was why China warned Canadian friends, those who helped China build influence and gather information from politicians, of foreign interference investigations. With this information out in the open, what was Trudeau's response? Condemn China for its actions? Nope. Instead, Trudeau got angry at the whistleblower who leaked the documents to the Globe and Mail. Gonna need to update that meme now. In response to the Globe and Mail story, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau told reporters that he expects CSIS to find out who is leaking the secret reports, saying it's certainly a sign that security within CSIS needs to be reviewed, and I'm expecting CSIS to take the issue very seriously. About a week later, he said, "We are, of course, always concerned about national security." About China, right? Right? Nope. About ensuring that people can have confidence that our intelligence agencies in particular are able to do their job and keep their secrets and function as a responsible agency. We've already established how good they are at doing their one job. Trudeau also claimed that there are inaccuracies in the leaked documents, though he didn't exactly explain what those inaccuracies are. Trudeau wants to minimize talking about Chinese election interference, arguing that giving any reason to distrust the 2021 election results plays right into China's hands. Some politicians, like Liberal MP Jennifer O'Connell, even claimed that questioning the results of the 2021 election is Trump-like and demonizes the democratic process. Yes, nothing hurts the democratic process more than letting the public question it. This is like saying, questioning why I feed my dog chocolate proves you hate dogs. Let him have a treat. Trudeau and the Liberal Party keep insisting that it's no secret that China has been interfering in other countries' elections, and that there's no evidence that China helped Liberals win. It's true that the CSIS director told the Trudeau government that there's no indication the CCP's election interference efforts helped elect their preferred candidates in 2019. But maybe what the Trudeau government wants to distract people from isn't just CCP interference in Canada, but their own non-response to it. Why are all these CSIS leaks happening now? Maybe because whistleblowers are frustrated with how little the Trudeau government seems to care about the issue. One of the latest bombshells is about how CSIS warned Trudeau's aides ahead of a 2019 election that a Liberal Party candidate was knowingly involved in Chinese election interference. That candidate was Han Dong, now an MP. Among other shady things, CSIS alleges that Chinese international students were given fake addresses and bussed in to vote for Dong during the Liberal nomination contest. According to CSIS, the students were also told by the PRC consulate to support the specific candidate if they wanted to maintain their student visa status. And yes, in Canada, non-citizens can vote in the Liberal Party primaries. But if the CCP can control who gets the Liberal Party nomination in an area that never elects Conservatives, that's as good as controlling the general election. What was Trudeau's response to this story? He said that it's not up to unelected security officials to dictate who can or can't run in elections. Which is true, but also irrelevant since CSIS was never doing that. Did Trudeau miss the part about the Chinese consulate coercing students to vote for a candidate or lose their student visa? That's totally fine. In the end, this shouldn't be a partisan issue. Both Conservatives and Liberals should be worried about what China's doing to undermine Canada and how weak Canada's response has been. If anything, Liberals should be the most eager to counter Chinese influence, precisely because some of them benefited from it. Downplaying Chinese influence makes the public believe that Liberals are on the take from China. And it just gives Conservatives more fuel against them, especially as Canada expands its foreign election interference probe, studying the 2021 election. Canada should fight Chinese interference and misinformation in all its forms, whether it's in their elections or spreading rumors about Avril Lavigne starring in a reality show. Honestly, could it be any more obvious? And this show is possible because of viewer support. So as a thank you to all my wonderful fans who support China Uncensored through the crowdfunding website Patreon or the exclusive social media platform Locals, I'll answer one of your questions. Constantine asks on Patreon, I wonder, do you know about China's growing reserves of gold and their alleged plans in cooperation with other countries such as Russia, Brazil, India, etc., to dethrone the dollar as the world's reserve currency? Thank you and your team for the hard work you guys put into the show. Best of luck. Well, if that's really China's plan, then the joke's on them. No one cares about gold anymore. The US dollar and basically all the world's currencies are fiat currencies, meaning their value is solely based on people's trust in their government. So China doesn't need to buy up the world's gold. All they need to do is undermine people's trust in the US government. And they're already getting practice with Canada. Thanks for your question and your support, Constantine. And thanks to everyone else who supports China Uncensored through Patreon. Join us at Patreon and contribute $1 or more per episode. You'll get a lot of cool perks, including me answering your questions on the show. Check out patreon.com/China Uncensored. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching China Uncensored.